in the sun got on the lens, then it seemed it was streaming the light in a different way. So I wanted to make this message because I had seen a post about how martial law and the calling of it would actually make us wards of the very machine the army is part of. I want to make an important distinction that I don't hear anyone else speaking of the way that I have been and continue to, because it seems it is the most important misconception that is ultimately part of the ultimate deception. If you've not read the Justinian ConneXion Report I wrote, I posted it to LJeH.ca in March, and I do believe it is to prevent the marching orders that would have men and women wearing boots and suits of uniforms to make us form into one norm, apparently, a toxic new norm that is not to benefit us, but definitely to use us as per the imperfect usufruct I talk about in the report I mentioned. The biggest distinction that needs to be made when I say that marching orders is part of the fraud is to say that no man or woman wearing a suit who have taken on a title remain as such. They are converted into the status, which means they have to take orders, for it is their duty. Yet the man or woman that took on the contract to contract their substance to conform and wear the uniform of the military, for instance, they remain the ones who pay with flesh and blood and soul in the karmic consequences that we actually go through because of our choice to do what we knew was not right but did anyway, for it was already written. And so we said, I have to, it's my order. Prescribed, subscribed, these lies are to make us no longer be the authority of our own realm, for it is the authority that is the author of the contract that changes our substance to fit the forms. Do you see? These are very subtle, small shifts, but in Fully Committed, the Sacred Sojourn of Now, I published almost a year ago now. June 28th was the day specifically. In it, I referenced the movie 1917, where it stood out to me while I was writing the book. While watching it with my papa one night, where they had said the only way this war ends is last man standing, and then I saw the lie. There was truth in that, but the lie is that it will be a man or woman carrying a weapon that actually remains standing in the end. For when we sell one another out in the name of a ship, whether it be citizenship, where the city of Zen is no longer so Zen because it has been sold out to defend the nation that is of man-made borders, man-made borders, for it is made by the hands of man that then get conjoined, and that is where the joinders take place between what is real man and woe man, title of man, yet I was born as a woman, as a female, whatever you want to refer to me as, I am real, compared to what was made, which is, yes, real to an extent, but if we feel that the man-made laws trump the common law, which is unwritten and uncapitalized, which means unspecified, then we will be denied what is rightfully ours. Dominion. over these lands is very different from the command one can make when you walk through a fake domain. Any domain can lay claim to the one who had to create a profile in order to file, pro being the prefix to the fixture of the word. When we see the word spells in the way that I've laid them out, if you have not shut down yet because of how heady it is, then we can get into our heart, and I'm doing my best to break this down in a way that people can get without having to stay with me for longer than what you actually can, because vibrationally we all have a limit. Our capacity is everything. We can only go to the edge of where we know, and then we get uneasy and uncomfortable and insecure and we don't like it, and so we got to shut that down in order to keep ourselves safe. And I get it. So I'm doing my best to wet this in a way that you can dive into at your own pace, which is what we must all do within this race, not of humanity or the variety of hues of colors that would be colored in law as per legalese, but to say the race is against ourselves. We do not need to look at others at the starting line when we are starting a race. We look to ourselves and to above, where our higher self watches and plays us, who are the individuated expressions of the grand overall designer that created all, the exclusion of none. That means we are all talking about the same things using different words, which have become the boxes that have made us feel safely separate from one another, because we couldn't see that we were talking about the same things using different words, became the boxes, and then thought it was different, but it is not. So I hope this message serves you, and would really love to hear from you down below. You can also message me privately if you have more to contribute than to what I have said, or you have access to means that would allow us to come into formation, as I believe is the key. We have been told we need to connect the dots, but what we were not taught was those dots are us, for we are the lights, the individuated expressions of the grand overall designer incarnate in physical form. It is the light in my eyes that when it goes, I no longer live here in me, for I am alive. I am alive. I'm a live one, a live wire. And when we band together, not as brethren, which is a title, or sistren, if that is such a thing. Cistern is what that then makes me want to make the wordplay connection with. But the point is that when we get back, before the titles, statuses, and personages that converted us into something other than what is true, we can be real. We can stand shoulder to shoulder in formation, the way those dots needed to be connected, and it is not of the headspace we do it. It is of the heart. So, I hope this is the start to the shift. I know it is not the very beginning, for it has been a long time coming already. But I hope this message is the start that shows my conviction to actually standing with you. For you are the second person to me, for I am the first in my reality. Yet, when it is you telling the story, it is the reverse, lest we step into the realm of fiction of he said, she said, being a dispute, or an argument, a complaint, which is what the legal beagles do. Men and women acting as such, taking on titles and training, indoctrination, and then making oaths in order to pledge allegiance so they can be the pledge to the fraternity of the Roman Empire. It sounds insane, but if you read that report I wrote in March, the Justinian connection with an X, for that is when they say X marks the spot we see. The connection is us. The X is where we have been thrust into a sign at your own line risk, where the life sentence or death sentence can be issued to us as a fiat, such as the currency we have currently been using. Why? Because we were told it was good. Because Ma tricks within this matrix. Because she doesn't know any better and her intention is good for the tension that fear creates within the cells of the body. She wants to make sure her babies don't have to suffer that fate too. We're all doing the best we can. When we point the finger at them, we forget we're just pointing at us, for there are 3 pointing back at me when I do it. First, second, third person pronouns, very key to how we have been played within this fucked up reality, which normally I avoid using curse words. But did you know, yesterday Rosemary told me that fuck actually was an acronym for fornicating under carnal knowledge, which means you weren't playing by the rules that you were supposed to, so they would literally write it or brand it onto the foreheads of those who were not following the rules of the time. And it was meant to constantly remind you of what you did wrong so that others could point and laugh. And I say, enough of that. Help wanted. I can't do it alone. I am but only one woman. One, though, is enough to get the ball rolling. So, I hope this call goes to the ones that need to have the willingness, because the will is how we actually merge body, mind, spirit, soul, and heart in the present, which is how we take our power back, I believe, from all of the places we've courted it to outside of us, outside of we, outside of me, for mine, and you for yours. Peace. LJeH. Namaste. Namago for today.